Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons. We're trying to take a darker context with everything we do here. If you like that kind of edgier content, please like, share, and subscribe. Please keep commenting. Getting to interact with you guys and hear some of the stories and content and ideas and characters you've played is a great reward in and out of itself. Without further ado, we're going to jump into this week's video, The Race of the Kender. The Kender race come to us from Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragonqueen. This is the newest source material at this point, and it is a small race that I hate. Because I tend to hate small races, I'm going to get in depth as to why I dislike this race, but all in due time. I just want to point out that there used to be a very big distinction between Dragonlands, Forgotten Realms, as there were different kind of worlds that existed within the world of D&D. Do your lore, you can see a lot of cool, great things that erupt from that, and distinctions between different kind of settings and characters and the way the atmosphere is kind of built. It's definitely worth the read. Always check the lore. There's a lot of great things to pull from when trying to fully understand the capabilities of what your world is. As I stated before, I hate the smaller races. If you're smaller than a dwarf, I generally don't care for the race as a whole. That being said, I know I'm making a lot of enemies. I have played with many people that love to play smaller races, and I've loved some of their characters, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them. And it's an incredible thing to have players really make you appreciate a certain race or lineage or however you want to associate the characters. It's fun, it's exciting to meet players that take real pride in the races that they like to play and thoroughly enjoy. Everyone has their favorite races. I know I do, and I would never discourage anyone from playing them, but you will never see me play a gnome, halfling, or definitely not a Kender. I just want to make that apparent, so if there's a little bit of bias, you'll know that's really why. And I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum, but I have a problem with small races. That being said, when you select a Kender, you are following that newer suit with ability score increases where you can choose whatever two you want, put two into one of them and put one in the other, and that is an option that's up to you. Or you can put one into three different categories depending on what class you're going to make. Picking a Kender, you got to be aware of some of the limitations of being small. First and foremost, you cannot use heavy weapons. Anything that's like two-handed is going to be something you're going to be wielding with disadvantage. So that limits your capability as to what you're going to do. And if you're going to be a martial because of that, then you are going to be limited to sword and board. So be prepared for that when building a concept for your character. Also, you can hide behind other characters. You can move in between the legs of others and kind of sneak through. Get a little bit of maneuverability that you wouldn't in other places. I'd give them advantage on hiding and being stealthy simply because they're harder to see because they are very petite. The first ability you get for being a Kender is Fearless. You have advantage on saving throws you make to avoid or end the frightened condition on yourself. When you fail a saving throw to avoid or end the frightened condition on yourself, you can choose to succeed instead. Once you succeed on a saving throw in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. This is a really strong ability. You gain advantage on breaking fear and not being feared in the first place. It is great. I happen to love the fear condition, so I happen to drool whenever the opportunity comes to fear something. Though, as a player race, the chances of you being feared specifically are not super high. It really depends on what you're kind of facing. So if you're facing lots of hordes of the undead, fear really probably isn't going to be your thing unless they happen to be liches that are going to cast it regularly. That being said, advantage constantly on it is a pretty good deal. Being able to break it no matter what for free once a day is also very, very strong. So as far as abilities go, this is actually pretty good and pretty useful. This kind of rings true to that kind of Lord of the Rings Hobbit bravery. If you've ever seen, and I imagine some of you have, the hobbits tend to be exceptionally brave. They happen to be able to go forward and do things that a lot of people would just go, nope, not going to do that. But this kind of feeds into that idea, that kind of mentality of it. And I really feel like a lot of the Kender kind of inherit this and become those kinds of characters for the small folk. So you can be dastardly and daring and just like kind of almost like a pirate, that great adventurer, that Robin Hood kind of like character, and it fits very well in a Kender. It's just you're small, and I don't like that. The other racial ability you gain is Kender Curiosity. Thanks to a mystical origin of your people, you gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: insight, investigation, sleight of hand, stealth, or survival. Having a great proficiency is very valuable for you depending on how you're building your character. If you're going roguish, you can take sleight of hand or stealth and save some of the proficiencies you gain from the class for one of the other options that you very rarely get to take. Survival, investigation, insight, a lot of these things depend on who your character is, what their purpose is. If you're more out for tracking things, monster hunting, then survival is very important to you. If you're more political, if you're involved in seeking answers, insight is very important. Investigation happens to be one of those skills that has a great importance whenever you're in a scenario that you're looking to try and figure something out. Trying to find clues, trying to find passageways, trying to find little cracks in hallways so you can see if there's a secret door, notes, papers, going through desks, going through paperwork, going through maps. Anything to find information, investigation tends to be very, very important. I think it's downplayed a lot of the times because it's intelligence-based and it's very hard to get a intelligence class that's going to go into investigation. A lot of times they go into Arcana or History, which are all equally important. The final Kender ability you get is Taunt. You have an extraordinary ability to fluster creatures. As a bonus action, you can unleash a string of provoking words at a creature within 60 feet of yourself that can hear and understand you. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, or it has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you until the start of your next turn. The DC equals 8 plus your proficiency, plus your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifier you choose when you select this race. You can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I don't like this ability on this race. And the reason why is you're small. And I get the theory behind it as you're being small. Maybe you're annoying. Maybe you just happen to be tauntable. But I tend to hate smaller creatures, and I can't say that enough. And this gives you a real reason just to go after them. Just to beeline as an enemy straight towards these characters. The problem is, now you have to build these a certain way. You can't be a wizard with taunt. And you really want to make use of the racial abilities because that's what brings your character like cathartic. That's a big part of what your character is, the abilities they gain for being who they are. It should be important to why you selected a character, and it should matter. If you pick this on anything that's not a martial class or something designed to take a hit, what are you realistically doing with this? Are you going to taunt someone and then just run away? Then what's really the point? Like, you're not going to drag enemies around the map and kite them. It doesn't work that way. Some enemies will just take the disadvantage and hit anyway. The purpose here is to really make an enemy infuriated at you and cause a distraction and get something to focus on you. And you can, in theory, use this out of combat. Yeah, it only provides disadvantage on attack rolls, but you can taunt and use this to gain the attention of someone so other your party members can swip around the back or do something, hide around, get through. You know, maybe this is a great way for you to be that distraction. The problem is you are limited with what equipment you can use because you can't use heavier weapons. So if you are going to be a fighter or a barbarian or something, you're very limited by doing sword and board or two-weapon fighting. That is an interesting concept, and depending on the severity of the difficulty level of your campaign, you're stuck in a scenario as to whether or not this is ever going to be useful. And that's a big problem. There's only a handful of classes that can use this effectively, and they all have some sort of realistic taunting mechanic outside of the paladin and the ranger. So what's the point here? Where are you going with this, and why would you pick this race and gain this as your ability and go, here we go? Our final thoughts. The Kender race is really kind of a letdown. I expected so many great things from Dragonlance, and ultimately I really didn't feel like it delivered. The race of the Kender really falls flat in comparison to all other halflings and gnomes. Yeah, having advantage on fear effects is great. You won't get feared most of the time. Being able to break a fear, great. Awesome. You hit a fear, you fail, you just decide not to, boom, you made it. Great, awesome. That ability is good. It's good. There's nothing wrong with that ability. The problem is that's the only real viable ability, because taunt, it doesn't seem to be beneficial. If you're going to pick a class and you want to have that ability to impose disadvantage on things that are attacking anything but you, pick a cavalier fighter. Pick an ancestral guardian barbarian. You gain those abilities and you have reasoning to kind of be that character. As a smaller race, there's a certain chip on your shoulder. There's a certain big mountain you have to climb of being represented capable of those things. To be that battlefield fighter as a smaller race, you have to have a great gravitas to who you are. And all of the Kender need that if that's what they're going to use for their abilities. And to pick it and just run and hide the whole time makes you kind of seem like a joke. You know, like, oh, you taunted someone and then you ducked around the corner. Like, he's not going to run through multiple party members and take opportunity hit after opportunity hit just to chase you down and hit you without disadvantage. It's better off for them just to make the attacks. It doesn't add up to something great. It doesn't give you this feel like Dragonlance is this epic world that you exist in when this is the race they present to you for. It really falls flat. It really breaks my heart. Don't get me wrong. The gnomes and the halflings aren't my favorite by a long shot, but they are significantly better than this. And this is probably my least favorite race that's been out in a while, and it's really disheartening to see that. That being said, thank you so much for sticking through and watching all the way to the end. Please like, share, subscribe. If you differ on your opinion on the Kender, you see something great in here, please enlighten me. Challenge me on this. Give me some reason to kind of find where you're standing and change my point of view. I'd like to like this race, but I just don't see anything there for us. So please, I challenge you. Change my opinion. Show me the greatness in this race. I would love to find appreciation for it. And above all, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.